Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to draw an eye from the side and 4 different tips that you should always keep in mind when you're doing this kind of drawing. So my first tip is you always want to keep in mind that the eye is a 3D object and the eyeball is actually a sphere that's in the eyelid, which is a little weird to think about, but a lot of times people make their eyes kind of flat looking, so you want to pay attention to the actual structure of the eye. Second thing always to keep in mind is that you can only see part of the iris when the eye is at the side, right? But the cornea itself is a little bit bulged out. But you kind of want to think about this in terms of you want it to look like it's 3D, but if it's popping out too much, it's going to look weird. So it's kind of like a balance between those two things. And then you always want to be looking at your subject matter and actually what's happening, because depending on the angle will depend on how much of the actual iris that you see in the drawing. 3 is sometimes what separates a good eye drawing from the side versus one that's not as good is having a little bit of shading in the white of the eye that will make it look more realistic. So whoever you're drawing, or if you're working from a photo, you always want to look at that the white of the eye and see if there's some shading that you should include in your drawing. And lastly, your 4th tip is that you want to be thinking about the lashes in terms of thinking about line pressure. And if your line pressure is too even, it'll make the lashes look kind of like chunky and stiff. So instead, what you want to do is you want to practice sort of like flicking your hand almost to make it a more of a sort of like gestural, wispy line quality than if it's really like stiff and stuck there. And lastly, so I've been thinking about making a portrait course, so let me know in the comments if this is something that you'd be interested in, if I developed a course like that, which would build on my mastering pen and ink class that is in the description.